2, 1. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us for the November 5th Financial Oversight Committee for our CARES Act funding, officially COVID-19 financial oversight. It is, as you all know, we're doing this via WebEx. If I could get somebody to make a motion for our electronic meeting. Does anybody have those words handy? Alex, could you read the statement for us? And we have Alex Blonder today, not Alex Dickerson. Welcome. Would you mind to read the words for us? And then from that, somebody can make a motion.
And I'll move my lips while you do it. So it looks like
so efficient.
Give me 1 second. I'll get that pulled up.
I think it goes, thank you, Governor, for allowing us to do this in the abundance of safety, blah, 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 blah. That's
I think that's really close to exact minus the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I forgot to hear it too.
I'm sorry, Alex, I put you on the spot.
It's okay. I just got to hunt it down from my email.
I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same. If I get to it faster, I'll let you know.
I got it. I move that the proposed agenda constitutes essential business and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and well-being of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Seconded. Mary Jo, you're muted.
Thank you. All right, I will take roll so that we can proceed and make sure who's here. I know we're missing Sarah today. Councilmember Gamble.
Here, I'm present. Or what do we, I guess is what.
Yeah, there we go. Voting yes to proceed electronically.
Yeah. Yes.
Excellent, thank you. I don't see Edward yet. Sean Henry?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnston?
Aye.
Vonda McDaniel?
Aye.
See, I don't see Junod. And Councilmember Sepulveda?
Aye.
Great, we have 5 in favor, none against. We will proceed with our electronic meeting. Okay. The first item on our agenda is the press release. If you all want to start there, that is fine. And if I had thought about this when I did the agenda, we do have folks from Music Cares. So maybe for respect of their time, if we want to maybe just go a little bit out of order. And I know some of you had questions for Music Cares. And so let's see, we have Chelsea Kroll and Aaron McAnally. Does the committee, are you fine to start there?
Sure.
Okay, so you all have the original request, and I just open the floor to the committee if you have any questions for Aaron or Chelsea.
So Mary Jo, this is Vonda. Thank you all for joining us, Aaron and Chelsea. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I appreciate the request and the consideration. There have been several grants that have been already made for food assistance, rental assistance, and utility bill assistance. But I would like for you all to speak to specifically how musicians and creatives have been impacted in this environment and why this grant is particularly necessary to assist those folks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. McDaniel. This is the work that we do. We are actually not with Music Cares. We're with Artist Rights Alliance. We're presenting this in partnership with Music Cares, just to make that distinction. So we do work for Artist Rights Alliance. We're an artist-run nonprofit. We do educational and grassroots efforts, and so we have been working since the beginning. Like everybody, we sort of shifted everything online and shifted towards leading people towards relief. And we saw, as we were leading people towards sort of private relief and then also the unemployment that in many cases people were eligible for the first time as gig workers. As we saw that happening, we sort of saw the private funding fall off. So that relief that was there in the beginning that people could apply for, including the work that the Music Cares folks did, was sort of falling off. And we've talked to lots of nonprofits about that private funding is just not there anymore. And then also with the unemployment running out for a lot of people right now, the PUA running out, and really within an industry that is particularly decimated, we think that it's imperative to have this discussion about how we can help folks in this industry. There is no end in sight, and it's not just the live portion of the industry that's affected. It is pretty much everything from publishing to sync licensing. Everything is being affected because people can't work right now. So, we drawing on inspiration from what the city of Austin did early on in this pandemic, which was to dole out relief around the same amount. I think theirs was $1,500. They've done 2 rounds of that relief, drawing on inspiration from that. And because they tapped Music Cares, we wanted to bring this to the city to discuss. And we absolutely understand that sector-specific aid is difficult, and it's a difficult subject to navigate. But we do think it's imperative to explore this. And granted, the rent relief and the food relief and the rent and mortgage aid that we have worked to gear people towards, that the city has done, is incredible, and it's so helpful. We do think that it's worth exploring in Music City a potential for more relief for individuals. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you for your response to the question.
Great. And I see 2 more questions. Councilmember Gamble, we'll start with you.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming here and presenting your proposal. I guess I just wanted to piggyback off the Ms. McDaniel's question. So the specific relief that you're asking for is specifically for individual personal household use. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we're proposing is micro grants for individuals within the industry. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Sepulveda.
This is Councilwoman Sepulveda, since I don't have my video on. Thank you for coming and speaking to us today. So I guess my question would be, I'm trying to look through the proposal to see how much you all are specifically asking for. Mm-hmm. So these are micro grants. And I know that we have several musicians and stagehands and all of that here in Nashville. So I don't know if you have data based on how many live in Nashville, not Nashville specifically, but in Davidson County, and how many would live outside the county, because potentially what we have done in past, money that we have awarded, we have made it specifically for Davidson County. So I'm curious to see how that would impact this group.
So yeah, I think according to the Chamber of Commerce, their last report, sorry, I'm having a hard time here. Their last report was that there were over 56,000 music workers in Davidson County. And that goes, I believe, for everyone from stagehands to truck drivers to makeup artists. Is that what you were asking? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was having a hard time. Okay.
Yes, this is Councilwoman Sepulveda again. Yes, and then how much were y'all asking for specifically?
Well, this was just a point for conversation because we wanted obviously your input on it, but we were looking at relief for 1,000 people at $1,000 a micro grant, and so that would be $1 million.
Got it. Okay. Those were my questions.
Great, and I'll just reference page 7 of the proposal shows the 1,000 micro grants and then the administrative costs of a total of 50,000. Let me see if I can scan for any other questions here. Councilmember Johnston?
Thank you. So we've got 6,000 people that are in Davidson County, and ask if how are you lead out the other 8,000? Like how which people get to the $1,000? The other question is that the $1,000 for 1,000 adds up to a lot of, a decent chunk of money, obviously $1 million, but how far is $1,000 really going to go for a very small number of people in comparison to the 56,000 that you just said Davidson County needs?
For sure. Well, I won't say that all 56,000 of those people would be in need of a micro grant, but many, many, many of them are. The $1,000 marker is something that we've seen from the federal government. We've seen it with the Small Business Administration as a number for micro grants, and as well as what the City of Austin did, as well as what Music Cares has done in the beginning of the pandemic. That marker has been seen as something that is effective for people that are in need to help them to either help outside of what rent relief, food relief, that kind of thing, and healthcare, and into like reinvesting in potential moves in their career. A lot of these 56,000 people, or a lot of the 1,000 people that could potentially be affected by this, have put in a lifetime of skills into their job. So pivoting is difficult. So this amount of money is viewed by many experts in the field and by many government officials as well as something that is helpful. So that's why we picked that number.
And so the $1,000 come in the form of cash?
Yes, that's the way it's worked through Music Cares with their other micro grants in the beginning, and through, I believe in Austin it was maybe 1,000 for one round and 1,500 for the other round, but it came in the form of cash. And Music Cares is the sort of like reigning experts on distribution of those kinds of funds. They actually sort of altered their system, their application system, to work with the City of Austin. There were things that the City of Austin wanted to change about the way that they process their applications, which they would be happy to speak to you all about as well at some point if you want to discuss this further. But they did work with the City of Austin to put parameters around those applications that suited the city. If that makes sense.
I just want to say hello, everybody. I just finally got into a place where I wasn't viewing and could actually unmute my microphone. So I'm Aaron's work partner, Chelsea, also presenting on this proposal. Just finally got in. And on Aaron's, sorry to jump in. I know you guys have questions, but I was listening before and sort of helpless and couldn't add on to Aaron's points at the beginning. But as Aaron said, we do a lot of work, especially in Nashville locally, with musicians. I mean, that is our primary work. And, what we've basically seen in the last few months especially is a lot of people that make Music City by being either in the industry as makeup artists or lighting riggers or driving tour buses and all of the very different parts of the music industry that is, aside from being just out on a stage playing guitar, but all of the many, many, many people behind the scenes are starting to have to leave town. And this is, you know, an anecdotal thing, but it's also a real thing. They're running out and they're desperate at this point. This is a specifically decimated industry and sector. And I know Aaron pointed out that sector specific is very hard to address because everybody else can come and say, well, we need it too. And while that is true, this is the work that we're doing and the people we're representing. And there's just obviously live music is talked about a lot and people have brought up a lot about live music, but there's so much beyond the live music and so many people that are gig workers within the music industry that are leaving town and unable to stay here. And specifically where they would do supplemental income in the service industry is also decimated, as you all know. So it's a very specific way that this is kind of coming under just being crushed. And I know that a lot of that is anecdotal, but I did want to make that point.
Councilwoman Johnson, did we address your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and going through our list, Vonda, do you have another question or is your hand still up from before?
No, I do have another question.
Excellent, go ahead.
Councilmember Johnson talked about the grant. So what is the documentation behind the grant? Could you walk us through like what the process is? Do you give grants for medical costs or do folks just apply and what does that documentation process look like of the application?
Well, I think across the industry, it does look a little bit different. With MusiCares, what they have done, and I believe this went for the city of Austin as well, was that if you can prove that you've lost money and you work in the industry, that you could be eligible for this grant, and that so far they have not put parameters on what that can be spent on. But that is something that could be explored in this proposal. Is that if you all felt like, you know, it was imperative, as we do, to help the industry or to help individuals in the industry, that you could pick potentially parameters to put around that. Like if you didn't want expenditures going towards things that you've already provided citywide relief for example.
And we can get a little deeper into the specifics of what that money is in terms of anything medical to.
I'm sorry, can I have a second, please? Can you unmute your, because I think we're getting some reverb and it's hard to hear. There we go.
Me or not me?
Yeah, we're good now. Go ahead. Sorry.
We did get a little bit specifically into what that could actually look like, because I know that there is rent relief in some areas, and I'm sure that there's organizations that are trying to help with medical. But you know, what we've seen so far with trying to get relief to especially the music community is that it falls into very specific stuff that they just can't keep up with when it comes, you know, transportation, especially cars that need tune-ups. And we just had somebody who needs a pair of glasses, pet bills, medical bills, or vet bills that came out of nowhere. So there's like kind of that catch-all area that we did get specifically into. However, what Aaron just said is true, is that is open for discussion based on need and based on what the city feels has already been covered in other areas. But what I will say is that the need is very much there in terms of that amount of money covering what is added up during the shutdown of the music industry.
Councilwoman Gamble, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I did. Thank you. And Chelsea actually talked about kind of what I was going to ask. I know that your initial proposal was submitted a couple of months ago, and I can imagine that the need is even more dire now. And so you kind of spoke to what I was going to ask about, where you're seeing falling through the cracks of what has been already allocated in relief of support from this committee, and where you might see where this additional micro grant may supplement something that hasn't already been fulfilled. I do have a question, though, about the industry itself. as the city has started to try to open back up, I mean, I know that the mayor recently extended our phase 3. Has that had any impact on musicians being able to get back to work or do anything in that matter? Can you speak to that?
Well, I would say that the actual disease is, or that COVID-19 is actually having more of an impact on closures or non-closures in this industry, because even if we were fully open internationally, people wouldn't be spending money on going to live shows. So while it may have had an impact on some musicians going back to work on Broadway, and some musicians being able to get back in the studio, there have been COVID outbreaks in studios already. It's not going to be business as usual in the music industry because it is such a in-person industry. So we're in this for a long haul. I mean, Chelsea and I are both married to touring musicians. We're both children of touring musicians. We're sort of steeped in this, and we're looking at maybe years of not going back to work in that part of the sector. But also, so much of music is tied to the creation of film and television as well, which has also those productions have been massively impacted. So it is affecting the publishing sector. It's affecting the recorded music sector. It really is profoundly decimating this industry.
I like to say, I mean, as a short way to look at it. So imagine for every one person that you see on stage, there's thousands of people behind them that are greatly affected by that one person on stage, whether it goes into the tuning of that guitar, setting up that microphone, whoever's running the sound. And while there's been, and I said this before, while there's been a lot of attention on the live industry, and rightfully so, there is a lot of gig workers behind that live industry, and those concerts that people can't go to for health reasons, or that they do go to, and people, there might be one lighting rigger for one socially distant show, but in the way that these people depend on their very specific jobs that they have been training for, that they can't just switch to another thing, that lighting riggers and makeup artists and people that are the behind the scenes that can't just switch that. And I'm just really just expanding on what Aaron just said, that this is going to be catastrophic, because there's another really specific thing, that when live music does come back, all of the jobs that depend on the live music, when it does come back, there is going to be competition with that. So there is going to be shows, the Elton John show versus the more working class musician that doesn't have a label. And this is going to be years before people can get back on their feet. If they can at all, if they don't have to completely leave the city and go find something else entirely different, which we're seeing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sepulveda, I see you still have a hand. The new question?
More of a comment. Yes, Councilwoman Sepulveda. I think it's important that we do address this. I mean, this is Music City. Just like we spoke about the farmers market being a staple of Nashville, musicians are not just musicians, but stagehands, makeup artists. This is what our city runs on. So our future, sales taxes and tourism dollars are going to depend on this industry still being around after all of this is over. I think that one thing that this committee has not addressed that was included in this proposal was about medical bills. We might have given rent, utility, and mortgage relief, but we haven't addressed medical bills at all yet. And people are still getting sick. People still have underlying conditions. People have put off, taking care of themselves because we are in a pandemic. I think very important issues have been brought up. I do think that we the need in this industry and invest in it. And so I would be in favor of allocating specific amount of money depending on if the committee agrees with me, to address this. So I don't know where the rest of my colleagues are. I think that we have asked great questions. I think we owe it to this industry that has been impacted, and that, like they said, the second, another industry that has been impacted are restaurants and all that, which is their second income in several cases. And so we're leaving a group of people where we're with nowhere to go.
I want
to
to
supplement.
I'm sorry to cut you off, and I want to make a just note on the medical bills, and especially health insurance is something that Aaron and I run into often. We try and work with other organizations that help out with that, but there's only so much that can be done there. And one thing that we are seeing too is that because so many in the music industry are gig workers, they do they're enrolled through Obamacare and they do self-pay. They've had to drop paying for their insurance because they've had to drop a number of their bills because of how, the financial situation that everybody's in. So they've dropped health insurance. And then recently my husband got a tick bite and had to go to the hospital and, went through the whole ER process. So he's a musician. And I've heard this. I had another friend who got a brown recluse bite that spent 8 days in the ICU after having, dropped insurance and figuring this out. So this isn't, it's not like being laid off from an office job where you could either, it just works so differently in terms of healthcare, health insurance, and medical costs. And we're seeing some pretty desperate choices being made by musicians, I think is what I'm trying to say right now. Thank you. And I am sorry for jumping in there, but I did want to say that.
No worries. This is Councilwoman Sepulveda again. Yes, I thank you for sharing that. I guess this is my shameless plug that our state legislator needs to pass Insure Tennessee. I am absolutely in favor of this. I think we need to take a deep dive into figuring out the logistics of it if this committee does decide that that is something that we want to do. But this is one person's opinion.
And I think I see one more hand, Council Lady Johnston.
Yes, I'm just wondering, I know when I was a 1099 worker, have these gig workers, I'm assuming are 1099, have they tried to access the grant funding that we have allocated for small and micro businesses? It's my understanding that they would be eligible for that, and we just are tonight, we will be moving another $1 million over to that support.
Well,
great to know.
Well, I will say that if I understand, the parameters of that are $35,000 to $250,000 in income. Is that correct?
Less than Jenna.
Yes, you're correct, Ms. Councilwoman Gamma. You're correct that the starting number is 35,000, and it's up to $1 million for all of the grants. There's a micro grant up to 250,000.
Well, that leaves a lot of people out of it. And I've also, I don't know the logistics of the application process of that, but what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from people is that they're having a lot of trouble with it. So I don't know. And I believe too, with the amount of money that's currently allocated, that would only potentially hit 120 people or so, as I understand it. So while I think it's great for the people that hit in between those $35,000 and $250,000 marks, it doesn't service individuals who may make below that. And what we continually hear is that there are a lot of people in the music industry who make around $25,000 a year, and that they're,
That's correct. Music Cares has said over and over that the average musician, this is according to Music Cares research, that the average musician makes about $25,000 a year. And like Aaron just said, we went into that process to see if we could check out how to apply. And there are some barriers for individuals that go between, a service industry job and a gig job and a 1099, that it's essentially the people that fall between the cracks that couldn't fit into that category of that really, really great relief program. I don't want to sound like I think that relief program is fantastic, but you have to be a small business and you have to have gotten to a certain point in your career to have,
Okay, so I'm wondering if it would be more appropriate to expand the small and micro business grant to include, let's say we go down to $15,000 to $15,000 to $50,000, that instead of allocating, instead of doing this in a way that I'm worried is going to cause, first of all, it would give people more than $1,000. I think, right? That would be eligible for that support. I thought it was 5,000. I'll have to look. But it would give more support possibly, and because I think that they would fall into that. And so I'm just wondering, like, I don't want to not help people, but I also am concerned that it's only going to affect 1,000 people out of 56,000 people, and how that would be, you're leaving a lot of people out of that. And then also, how far really is $1,000 going to go? Because I know that the need is so much greater than that. So I'm a little bit concerned in the way that this is structured. And so I'm wondering if the committee would be open to expanding the eligibility of which, I guess these are micro businesses, and to be able to support in that way. Is that something that we would be willing to entertain? And is that a better way to do it? I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
It's Councilwoman Gamble. I would not be supportive of expanding that outside of small business, just because there are so many small businesses that are in need of that relief, and expanding it or dropping the number would minimize the number of small businesses that would be able to get that relief, and it wouldn't really add that much value to the musicians, because not very many of them would be able to get the relief either, because you would be spreading out that minimal amount of funding across a more broad audience. What I wonder is but it sounds like it's not just the need of medical bills, because when you're talking about supporting healthcare and medical bills, I'm thinking that this committee does need to look at some relief, whether it's through Metro General or some other health organization that we designate or allocate funding to support medical relief, medical bill relief, healthcare relief to individuals throughout Davidson County, period. Not just the musicians, but everyone, particularly though independent workers that do not have health insurance or have had to let go of health insurance because of lack of employment. So I would like to see the committee address that. So I guess my question for Music Cares is if you think that the committee doing that, committee expanding an allocation towards supporting healthcare for individuals in Nashville would help your group, and if so, will there still be a need for your proposal? Maybe not at the amount that you suggest, but would there still be a need outside of the health care support? And how much of a need do you suspect?
I would say that there absolutely would still be a need outside of, to speak to the $1,000 that was brought up before. How far does $1,000 get you? I just can anecdotally say that who we're working with and who we're talking to, the need is the $1,000 would absolutely make a difference. And that is why we settled on that number. I do think that a health cost program would be incredibly helpful, but it doesn't address all of the needs that we have encountered. To answer your question, in terms of, and I'm talking about diapers, formula, vet bills, medical bills.
Investment in career too.
Right. Keeping your guitar, buying guitar strings so that you can actually show up for a gig, and the people that are risking their honestly risking their lives right now to show up for at the studio because they don't have a choice because this is what they've been trained in for 25 years. But I mean, that goes off into a different direction. I want to make sure that I'm really answering your question. There's absolutely a need outside of medical, and Aaron and I are talking to people every single day about that need, whether it is new glasses. I dealt with somebody, you know, and I think I brought this up before last week, who just needed a new prescription, a pair of glasses so that they could do their work, write, drive, read emails, and didn't have the money for that right now. As you can tell, I feel very passionately about this because, and I hope that that doesn't come across as pushy, but we are talking to these people every single day, and I feel very, very passionately about the need that Aaron and I are seeing, and the push to try and get that aid to them at any way possible. I mean, I don't feel like we're, you know, I don't feel like this is the end of the line, no matter how we end up resolving this with you guys. Aaron and I are going to continue this because we are in contact with a lot of these people, and I do think $1,000 for 1,000 people would make a huge dent. Aaron and I are experts in the field of communications and outreach to other organizations and communities. We basically built our whole careers on that at this point. So actually getting into the gospel music community and getting into the mariachi bands and all the different areas, the rock and rollers in East Nashville that were working at the bars on the weekends, and you know, to the country people that are going downtown. That is anyway, I'm rambling on.
I want to put a fine point on we can't, I don't think anybody in this moment, because we've never all been in a pandemic before. We've never been dealing with this many decimated industries. So to speak to the long-term efficacy of $1,000 micro grant, you know, there's not many ways to do that right now, except to say that we're seeing it work. We saw it work with the Small Business Administration in the beginning of the pandemic. We saw it work with Music Cares in the beginning. We saw it work in the city of Austin. It is helping people. And that's, you know, as much as I'd love to bring hard numbers and say, this is what this does, right now, we just know anecdotally. And that's why we included that quotes in our proposal about how from organizations that have dealt out that amount of money and from individuals who could use $1,000, because it is hugely impactful to any Nashville residents.
So I'm going to double check if those are new questions. But just one thing that this committee has discussed in the past when we first brought up this proposal was the impact of the expanded unemployment. So it might be helpful for this committee to hear, you know, it's dangerous for me to try to do math off the top of my head, but, you know, if they were making $35,000, you know, even at that $35,000 level, the increased unemployment and the expansion, so the $600 extra, plus now expanded to 1099s and contract and self-employed workers. I think more so than looking at do they qualify for small business is, could you speak a little bit to this group's availability of that expanded unemployment? Because quite honestly, if they were, you know, in that $25,000, $35,000 income, they were actually made whole if they were getting the expanded unemployment, at least for those 13 weeks. And I think that's something this committee was trying to consider, is if individuals were being able to access the expanded unemployment, especially at those lower levels, they actually, that extra amount actually kept them whole. We in many cases better than, and I hate to say better because nobody's coming out for this better, but.
Yes, you have a great point. And it was very helpful that PUA came around and that gig workers were eligible for the first time for unemployment. But we can speak anecdotally and personally to this because both of our husbands are on unemployment because they're both musicians. So we have experiences, and we've also walked through this with so many other people that are on unemployment. So yes, while that extra $600 was helpful through the month of July, and in some cases did make people more whole temporarily, you're talking about looking at a long-term effect, and most of those people who were eligible for that PUA are in the next coming weeks are ineligible for it anymore. It ends. So we're literally at a precipice of catastrophe where they're not going to be eligible for it. And they haven't been getting that extra $600 in months. So that was for a period of time, it was helpful, but now that's not there. So we're looking at very low amounts coming from the state of Tennessee that are making people not whole. And it's a complicated process. I know a lot of people who have not even been able to access it since the beginning because of holdups through the unemployment system, which is a whole other discussion. But I've tried to help, like contacted legislators for people, and we've gotten through, but then it doesn't work. It's been very difficult for thousands of people. I see it all the time, particularly with in women's groups that I'm in the music industry, of people not being able to access that money at all. So while it's been greatly helpful for some, there are huge issues with it.
And I will say, as far as, on paper, when you're looking at just actual becoming more with that extra $600 addition that was pre-July, you also were looking at such a complicated system of making money when you're in the music industry that if you were going on the road, let's say your projected income for the year was $25,000, but then you had merch sales that you were completely depending on for your mortgage or for your rent for that year. So it's really complicated to say that they were doing better when there's so many moving parts in terms of how you make a living as a musician. If you get a sync licensing deal for the year of 2018, that might actually fill up your coffers until 2020. Your taxes and the way that you report looks entirely different. It's all above the table, but it's just like this carousel of moving parts that doesn't actually equate to the same way that somebody might like mathematically look at it and say, oh, you were making more money between March and July. It's like, well, but anyway, I think I made my point with the different ways that you make money, merch, touring, percentage of a bar tab that some musicians get at the end of the night that then they have to retroactively add to their taxes at the end of the year. It is not that simple. And as Aaron pointed out, we are now talking to a lot of musicians who have recently as yesterday found out that their unemployment is running out. So that extra 270 or so is now what they were dependent on. And some of them have recently in the last few days saying, well, I have to leave Nashville. I can't stay in this house. I have to go back to where, my parents live.
Okay. I'm still taking advantage of the rent and mortgage and utility relief that not only we are providing, but Metro Action Commission is providing. There's several different resources for individual support. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that that's definitely still out there.
Yeah, so we're absolutely leading people that we've been helping distribute the farmers market vouchers as well. Like we're definitely leading people there and encouraging people to take advantage of that. We just think that there is further investment to be made.
Well, we know that there's further, but yes, we're aware of those programs and certainly trying to be resourceful to musicians and people in the music community by making sure that they are aware of them.
Sean Henry, do you have a question for us?
I do. Thank you both for your passion and presentation. Just curious, when you built the universe of $1,000 for 1,000 affected people, how did you pick the 1,000 people out of the 56,000 workers, if you will? I know not all are in the same boat, but just trying to figure out why the $1 million.
Honestly, that was a talking point. That was a way to have a conversation with you all to say, we think affecting or helping 1,000 people is really, really helpful. We just wanted to have a conversation about this microgrant possibility with you all, and did that in conjunction and with it under advisement of other folks in the industry, other nonprofits that thought that might be a helpful amount.
And I'll add to that, we also, Aaron and I had a brainstorm and said that we collectively know that we could quickly and efficiently get $1,000 out to 1,000 people, just with our network connections in terms of different music communities. So that was an added part of it too. It was, there was a lot that went into settling on that, but certainly I'm with Aaron on it is definitely a talking point. And we were under advisement of other people that are trying to get help out to people as well. and what they were seeing, specifically the ballpark of need for bills that have piled up since, you know, that you normally would be able to take care of, but things that happen.
All right, I just, Councilwoman Sepulveda, do you have another question or comment?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Sepulveda. So I would discourage lumping in this industry with the small business grants. I know that a lot of those funds have already been, used up, and that's why we are talking about allocating 1 million from the music venues that will probably go unused to the small business. I know that many on this committee don't tune in for some of our committee meetings, but we had a finance committee meeting the other day in which there were several concerned council members with taking the 1 million from the music venues and transferring that over to small business relief because it came off as pitting one industry against the other, and we actually had no vote and an abstention, I believe, and so I think we're coming towards the end of our funds, and we have to use them wisely, and I know that it's going to be harder towards the end, but I think that it would not be wise to take that approach, and the music industry is one of the most important industries in this city, and so I would be very cautious about that. I mean, we played a big role in the presidential debate. We had the stagehands who are unionized here in this city, and so I think it's very important that we keep that a little separate. There are things that could be taken as a whole, like Councilwoman Gamble suggested, as medical bill relief. But I think this won't be decided today, but I think this warrants further discussion.
All right, I don't see any other hands, and I do want to make sure that we keep moving along. I don't want to short the conversation, but very aware of time. So if we don't have any other questions, I think just on behalf of the committee, Chelsea and Aaron, thank you for joining and answering each question with such detail and passion. And I don't see any more hands. So I'm going to call that a wrap on that conversation. And thank you both for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having us.
We really appreciate your time and your commitment to all the details, listening to all the details. It's compassionate. And as Aaron said, we are open to talking points, and please feel free to call us back for any questions or specifics, or if you want to, rethink different ways to approach this too. We are in this for the long haul. So anyway, I appreciate all of you guys' attention to this today. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, for our committee, we certainly can continue to discuss. I don't want to cut short any of your internal conversations or this committee's conversations. I open the floor to that. I don't know if you want to go through some of the other items that have come up. One we started to hear a little bit about last week, which was the comedy club, and you have that email. You have a new one. It's not lost on me. The irony is that you also all asked for a press release that said we weren't going to do any more allocations. And so that's also the first item on the agenda. So I'm going to leave it to the committee to, choose your order that you want to address those, but those were all the first things on our agenda today. Let's see, Councilmember Sepulveda.
Yes, thank you. This is Councilwoman Sepulveda. I think we should address the press release issue first. I know many of us had talked about putting a pause on allocating money until a decision was made in our case concerning the referendum, and the referendum had been struck down by a judge. So I'm hesitant to hold all of that money, not necessarily saying that we shouldn't hold a smaller amount because COVID's still going to be around. But I think that frees up, in my opinion, more relief that we could do. And so I would be inclined to actually not do a press release at this point.
Okay, so let's do that then. Councilmember Gamble, I know you have a question. If everybody could just open up the press release and we can talk about that, you know, from a discussion item of what's in there, what you want it to say, whether you want to hold it. We can do that. Councilmember Gamble?
Yes, I'm still trying to find the press release. It must have been in one of the emails that you sent recently, but I'm not having a trouble finding it. But I did want to follow up to Councilmember Sepulveda's comment. I don't, and forgive me, and maybe I wasn't on that call when we specifically, I guess, discussed the plan to do a press release announcing that we would stop allocations. I remember having a discussion about unofficially holding spending because of the pending referendum, but I don't recall the discussion. Not that we didn't have it, I just don't recall it. So I'll keep looking for that press release. But at this point, I'm just, if someone could remind me why we felt the need, that there was a need for a press release to announce the suspension of allocations of the CARES money, I would appreciate it.
And I'll just say real quick, if you'll look, I think it was the 11/26. Oh no, it was, yeah, the 11/26 email.
Jennifer, I just forwarded it to you again. It should pop up. Yeah, you're welcome. I think one of the reasons that we decided to sort of put a pause on allocating was obviously the referendum was part of it, but also the uncertainty with regard to how long we're going to be dealing with COVID, with or without a referendum, and that we're definitely from a city response perspective are going to definitely have need there, and there is no room in the operating budget to pull it from. And so our fiscal responsible side was saying, let's hold back until we have received more clarity on more federal support, any more state support that we may be receiving, and we should receive some clarity in the next few weeks on that, so that we can put ourselves in the best position possible to be able to take care of Metro's response needs as we hit 2021 into the first and second quarter of 2021. That was why, and I appreciate that the referendum has been struck down by the Chancery Court judge. That's good for the city from a financial perspective, but we still are going to have a major need to respond to this pandemic with literally no room in the operating budget, as we all know.
And I think the other point that we made was that not only would we have additional internal expenses for Metro, and I will really try to get you an estimate on that. One of the things that I was looking at on what would our out-of-pocket expenses be after December 30th, FEMA is becoming less of an option for those expenditures. So we really would need a reserve. And if there is no extension of date and there is no additional funding, we have to find our own reserve to pay for those expenses. And this 24.8 million is a very powerful tool. I don't want to imply that that would only be for internal Metro expenditures either. If we determine that we think Metro's expenditures through the end of June, just, kind of taking this fiscal 21 year in account, if we think that those expenses are 16 million, I'm just making that number up right now, but what it means is we'd have then that additional, almost $9 million to continue to help the community. Because the other concern is that by no means do I imply that nonprofits and resources are flush, that everybody just has enough, but there's a lot of money still sitting in the nonprofit world unspent, not just what we have funded, but there are a lot of funding that was given by the state that was intended, and has to be used by December 30th. And I did see that Representative Love joined us. I might have him give us an update. I think the extension on the state funds was actually December 5th. It was originally November 15th. I believe the state extended that to November 5th. But point being, there isn't any funding available for nonprofits, for rent, for utilities, for food, for behavioral health, for some of those needs that we know are going to continue past 12/30. So if we use this as a tool and a strategy to not just leave these funds unspent, and I think that's one of the things I want to make sure is clear, because it is a little bit confusing. What we would do is use these funds in a way that expends them in accordance with the guidelines. And we would use those in our normal operating budget for regular payroll salaries of eligible health and safety employees, thereby providing room in our FY21 regular operating budget. Essentially, we've covered expenses we didn't intend to cover. That then allows this, committee approved by council to create a reserve, call it a financial stability reserve, call it another, COVID named reserve, to have those funds available at its use after December 30th. So I'm not implying that the needs aren't there through December 30th, but because of the funding that's been made available through the federal resources, the predominance of those funds are available through December 30th. And what we are hearing on other city calls and government calls and at the federal level is that none of these needs go away magically on January 1st. So if we want to be able to respond to these needs after December 30th, both Metro's internal expenses and community needs, this is a way to do that. So that was some of the other discussion that we had about, it's not just preserving these funds, it's actually utilizing them in a way that gives us the opportunity to have the flexibility, because then we have essentially the only restrictions on those funds would be the ones we put on them. They would essentially be unrestricted funds. And we could put together a criteria, a matrix, a bit of a framework for the city to work within with Metro Council on how those funds would be spent post 12/30.
Thank you for that, Councilwoman Gamble. Thank you for that. In light of what you're saying, I agree that using these funds to support our public health, public safety, salaries or staff or needs as it relates to COVID-19 is prudent and smart to do. I would just suggest that we do that then, instead of putting out a release saying that we are suspending allocations. We just make the allocation of the funding towards those things and be, open and transparent about what we're doing. And so that we can move forward with what you're suggesting as far as having flexibility then with the operating budget to use those funds after December 30th. Is there a reason why we shouldn't just do that?
So I'm going to let the committee speak to that, but I just from the way that I've been tracking, I mean, my role is really to give you all as much of the federal guidance and examples of other cities and what they've been doing. I think we should. I mean, essentially what that does is it doesn't stop us from making any future recommendations, even still within your December 15th guideline. It just comes out of a different, reserve, a different fund. Now, as far as just going ahead and doing it, I will say, I do think it needs to be very thoughtful. I think if we create, that our Metro Council will want to know, okay, we've created a new reserve of 24.8 million. I do think there needs to be another framework around that on how those funds are spent. Could we put some parameters in that this committee then isn't having to approve invoices at the Metro level? This committee, I don't think was intended or wants to get into then approving expenditures by Metro. So do we do something like a framework of saying, once I present, and I'm going to acknowledge I need to give you all this estimate of what those expenditures are, then maybe it's the same type of thing that we did with the 48.8 million, where I showed you, here's the nature of those expenditures, here's the estimates, let's reserve that, and then the spending happens under its normal course. And then the excess to that becomes kind of this same fund for either the council to approve, or we extend the committee, post 12/30, or we have a different group that says, how do we then decide what that extra amount then is used for? We talked about behavioral health and that, some of the funds that we have sent up for rent and utility, if it's depleted by December 30th, then we might need amounts, the small businesses, those types of things. So what kind of framework do we want to put around that? I do think that has to be very thoughtful. That's a very thoughtful process. So I think the idea, and we don't have to go there. I'm just saying the idea of the press release was kind of this interim pause until we could come up with that framework.
And this is Courtney Johnson. The press release doesn't say we're halting allocation. It literally says we're moving this money into a reserve fund that gives us more freedom, basically, if you read it. So it's not like it says, hey, we're not making any more allocations. It's saying we're moving from this to that for this purpose. So I don't think people would go, why are you? So just wanted to make that clear. Jennifer, have you been able to read the? Okay.
I have, and it didn't specifically say any necessary departments. It just gave out ideas of what the money could be, whether it was operations for Metro shelters, residence testing.
Right.
Right. I did see that. But again, if we're doing that, then why not just do that instead of suggesting, having a press release to, and it does say suspend. It does say suspend additional recommendations for allocating remaining coronavirus relief. So maybe we need to change some of the language in the press release to specifically say that we're not necessarily suspending or that we're allocating. I just don't think that it's to suggest that we're suspending the allocations because we're going to redirect funds. I just don't understand why we just don't redirect the funds instead of saying that we're suspending allocations. It just sounds contradictory to me. You were saying we're suspending, but then we are actually reallocating. So I would just suggest that we be clear and transparent in actually what we're doing.
I see what you're saying. So Mary Jo, is that possible to take out that first sentence where it says announce that they will suspend additional recommendations, just cut that out and just say that the Financial Oversight Committee redirects the remaining $24.8 million still unallocated in exactly what Jennifer's saying, because it is a little bit contradictory in some ways. I mean, I would be open to that if we need to do this press release, but then I also know I jumped ahead of Janad and Council Lady Sepulveda, so sorry.
That's all right. That's exactly what we want to discuss today is what is kind of the approach. I think what I'm hearing, and I'm gonna call on the other hands here real quick. What I think you might be recommending is that we actually just make a resolution that we bring to the council. We don't have to make a press release. Let's bring it to the council. The council can, you know, approve or not, and then we're in the next step, you know. But I think you're just saying, why take two steps if we only have to take one step? So
exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Let me, Junad, do you want to? I see your hand, and then I also see Councilmember. And then
hey, everybody, it's. Hello.
Okay, now we hear you. You're not. Go ahead. Okay, I see you on mute now, Janad.
Hey, I'm here. I'm sorry.
There you go. Now you're green.
I got up, Janad Odebeko for everyone listening. I apologize. I got up to move from one place where there were a bunch of leaf blowers blowing behind me to a more quiet place and lost my connection. I like the approach of redirecting the funds. I think one of the things we've been dealing with, or at least in the back of my mind, is that this December 30th deadline to spend the funds. And I like the ideal of working in some more flexibility, because we don't know what's going to happen on the federal level. And also the needs created by the pandemic aren't going away in another month and a half or so. And I like the thought that we can kind of create our own flexibility in terms of what we do with the fund. I think those are all reasons to be prudent here. I was at first skeptical about doing a press release, kind of on the rationale of, you know, instead of announcing what we're going to do, why don't we just do it? But I do see some utility in serving notice to the public of what we're doing, in terms of the thought that we kind of need to pause to, you know, to allow us, or, you know, whoever is going to spend the remaining money, but to notify the public, including people who might want to come before us with proposals, that, you know, where the process is, and that, you know, we're not necessarily done spending money out of a fund or spending, you know, fund money, but that we're kind of redirecting this so that we have more time and more flexibility to do all the things that we want to do. I think notifying the public of that it's not a bad thing to do, and will only kind of show the public that we're being thoughtful in what we're doing. So I guess for that reason, I think the press release is a good idea.
Okay, I'm going to just go back to the top of the list. Councilwoman Sepulveda?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Sepulveda. I'm against holding the entirety of the remaining funds. I think it's prudent that we do hold a smaller amount. If I'm not mistaken, Phoenix did 10,000. Correct? Is that correct, Mary Jo? How much was it?
No, I'd have to look, and I've seen it recently. It was tens of millions that Phoenix applied to their public health and safety salaries to create exactly. They created a financial stability reserve, and it was a really big number. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
Great. Their city is also different from ours in size. I think we do need to hold a number of funds. I don't think it needs to be the entirety of it. I think that there's still a great need within our communities. I from talking with different council members at our council meetings, I just don't see. I think we're going to have an issue. Is how I'm reading rooms at this moment. With us still having several things that need to be addressed. I mean, our we've exhausted so many funds within small business, right? I mean, we have a lobbyist group that works for the mayor's office. If I'm not mistaken, we still have a lobbyist group. I don't know where they're at in talks with our state government and the governor's office. I mean, we pay this group to lobby for us and try and get the funds out as quickly as possible. And I guess there's also frustration on the state's response to all this, and I'll go on record saying that I'm disappointed in our state's response to COVID-19 and how they have supported our communities and our businesses. And I think there's more work that could be done, and if there was more of a partnership, then you know, we could address a lot of these issues quickly. I would not be in favor of holding the entirety of the funds. I do think that if we have an estimate from Mary Jo, like she was talking about, of how much it would cost to keep the shelter going, to continue with testing and all of that. If there could be more of an estimate, I would be more comfortable with holding a specific amount. But I alone, and I only speak for myself, couldn't sign on to holding the entirety of the remaining funds.
Thank you for that. And let's see, I'm looking at hands. I see Councilwoman Gamble, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, and to follow up to Councilwoman Sepulveda's point, we did initially recommend a few meetings back that we would spend, I think it was when we were at 27 million, we said we would look at allocating the 7 million and holding the 20 million. And so if we stick to that initial recommendation, then that would allow a few more million to allocate to address some of the needs like we discussed today, whether it's health related or whatever. So I would support, again, as Councilwoman Sepulveda suggested, reserving an amount of funds, getting the report from you, from the finance office, as to how much. I know we probably don't have enough funds available to support what is needed in regards to our public safety and public health and all of that. But if we could look at going back to our initial recommendation of reserving the 20 million and allocating that towards those expenses, then that would be something that I could support. And I think that's something that could be justified to the public and the council at large.
Great, thank you for that. Sean Henry.
Yeah, thank you. Councilor Gamble, I have one question. When you say hold the 20 million, you mean transfer the 20 million into the new entity? Okay.
Right. I was saying that we suggested reserving the 20 million, but now we're saying allocating that towards the public health, public safety expenses.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. And then in order, I've got Councilmember Johnston.
I wanted to actually ask a question because one of the resources that we have from a health perspective, as far as uninsured or underinsured people, is Metro General, that the taxpayers subsidize roughly $48.5 million a year to that hospital. So I know that people have not paid their insurance, and that are people that are suffering, and I get that. So I just want to see if we can maybe better communicate that resource that we have to people, because Metro General is available to anyone and everyone, regardless of their ability to pay, if I'm not mistaken. So as far as allocating for medical expense, we sort of already do allocate for medical expenses with that hospital to a pretty significant number. Like I said, $48.5 million a year is what taxpayers spend on that hospital. So, this could be like a lot of times we have an opportunity to better communicate the resources that we already have available to our residents for that particular need, which I know is always great, but certainly now even more so.
Yeah, I agree with Courtney on that as far as using the press release as an opportunity to expand on what has already been allocated and what is available for individual assistance. In regards to the healthcare, I'm not specifically suggesting that we give Metro General more money. I'm just suggesting that we look at what other if there are other needs related to health or whatever it's related to. I mean, we discussed healthcare today, but looking at other needs that may be addressed with that additional $4 million if we were to decide to restrict that $20 million to the other public health, public safety expenses.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not saying that I'm not suggesting to allocate more money to Metro General. My point is that we're talking about, medical needs for people that have lost their insurance or whatever. And someone mentioned maybe providing support for that through these CARES Act dollars. I am against that because we have already a wonderful resource in Nashville General that is there for that purpose that we already subsidize very, very strongly. And so to me, that's the answer to that need is Metro General. That's all I was saying. So I just wanted to clear that up, that I'm not saying allocate more, I'm saying we already have that resource.
Okay, let's see. I've got two hands still up. Sean, did you have another question or comment? Okay, so I don't want to rush the committee. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. What I did double check, just for timing, is if we want to present a resolution to the council to reserve, and if I'm not going to put numbers in anybody's mouth, if that's 20 million, if it's 24.8 million, if it's somewhere in between, if we want to make that recommendation, we do need to actually, if it's a timely submission, we need to submit it by tomorrow at noon. Now, that's asking a lot of this committee today, but I have to say that this is not one that we want to late file. We have late filed quite a few. That is a tough process for the council office. And it's a tough process for our council members to really get their, their heads around it and have an opportunity to ask questions and really be informed. So, some of our recommendations have been, I think, simple enough that was okay, but I do not want to do that to our council office to treat something that I think is, this is complex. I mean, it's hard to explain. I had another council member call and ask me a question, and I realized that the 9 of you have committed, hours every week to engage in this conversation since July. And so you have such an understanding and background. And for many of our council members and for sure our general public, they don't have the benefit. We'd like to think they come back and watch all of our meetings on YouTube, but I'm sure they don't. So I just think this is a little bit of a complex conversation, and we really want to make sure people understand that we are not, what we are doing and what we are not doing. So that's just my kind of too long version of pushing that. If we want this on November 17th, we might want to get to it. We might also have to, if this afternoon doesn't work out and we want to schedule, we have to do it because we would have to have a public meeting. And so this is it. December 1st is fine too. This committee goes through the December 15th meeting. I am not here to put pressure on anyone. I'm just making sure we know our timelines and our guidelines.
I think waiting for the December meeting is plenty. You know, I don't think it's necessary for us to rush through this process because we're already basically an hour and a half into this. And I think we've been so thoughtful and so diligent about every one of our decisions that we've made that I want to be able to give the time to that. And so, and I don't want to do a late file either. I agree with that as well. So that would be my suggestion, is that we just take this up, or we can maybe start a draft, but that we would handle this next week and then be able to timely file for December 2nd or whatever day, whatever the first meeting in December is.
Great. I think it's the 1st. Let me just check calendar. First Tuesday is December 1st. Okay. Let me get to a few, see if there's other hands. Representative Love, I'm sorry if I've missed it. I have not scrolled down far enough. I see your hand. I'm assuming you still have a question. Just make sure you take yourself off mute.
He may need to be moved to participant status to be heard.
You are correct. Let's see. So I know we've got somebody from ITS helping us, but you're right. He is still listed as attendee. And my apologies. You might have had your hand up for a while. We'll come back to you. Sean, did you have a question?
So can we make this the only agenda item maybe for next week? Or, so we can start with it. As you said, Council Lady, we can spend the appropriate amount of time on it. But from a discussion standpoint, and more asking everyone else that's suggesting this, do we set a dollar amount to set aside, or do we set a minimum dollar amount to set aside? And then whatever remaining balance by X date that we haven't allocated could then also go into the fund. Can we do that? You're on mute.
Yep, sorry, we sure can. I think the proper wording would be, we're putting, an additional amount in with the intention of still some other allocations. In fact, if you all recall, the extension of the contracts, when we extended all of the nonprofit contracts from November 15th to December 28th, the provision in that resolution says unexpended funds at that point will go into we need to pick a name at some point, not today, but this new reserve, okay, this new fund that we will create, any of those excess funds will go in there.
But I'm sorry, that's for the grants we've made already with leftover funds.
Correct.
What I'm
suggesting, so we could do something. Yep. Okay. We would do something similar that says we're putting 20 million of the 121 million into that fund, and that's done. So it's spent. I think the tough part for us is people are looking at, well, you have unspent funds, and this committee has been very thoughtful and been working on this idea that we're going to have this, because what we're going to do is actually spend them on something that provides the flexibility. So I think that's been a little bit of a challenge the public sees, and our council members see, well, you have unallocated funds. Why aren't you spending them? So I think what we'll be working on next week is the wording that says, we are recommending you spend 20 million on public health and safety salaries.
Mm-hmm. And then
we will continue to make recommendations up until the December 15th meeting. At that point, if there is anything that is unallocated, we will include those funds in this new to be named reserve. And I will point out the other thing that is going to happen. Estimates are estimates. So when we get to the 48.8 million, if that number is lower because we either do better with FEMA claims or we just didn't spend as much, then I think that excess needs to be, again, specifically stated that that will go into this fund. So the fund ends up being a really important tool. The way we've phrased those resolutions ends up being really critical to making sure that in the 11th hour, and it's going to be, and when I refer to that 11th hour, some of that will be post December 30th. And the reason is some of those final invoices, we won't know what we pay in lab tests through December 30th until January. So we'll have an estimate, but then it's going to give and take. And so the final report to the OIG is September of 2021. We are going to be pushing FEMA claims like crazy so that if we actually can get reimbursement on things above the 20 million estimate that we've already made, we will free up more of our CRF, but we need a mechanism that says we've already approved anything that gets freed up automatically goes to that new reserve. So it's going to, and we don't want the committee to have to be making all those decisions or council to be having to vote on those types of things. So I do think on December 1st and December 15th, those final resolutions have to be carefully and thoughtfully worded so that there is the flexibility to continue to kind of put all the pieces together, call it a puzzle, call it Tetris. We're going to be putting all these pieces together into the right funds. And that final fund is probably not going to end up at 20. I mean, there's also the possibility that if our lab testing invoices go way over our estimate, what if we'll have to automatically start taking out of that 20. So that's really how it's going to play out in the end. And that is a little complicated, but we will make the wording fit.
Right. But that fund will have 4 potential funding sources. The base number that we set, the potential overflow from CRF, any return dollars from our original grants, and then whatever we don't spend in the final allocation above the right now 20 million, correct?
I think that was a really great way to summarize it.
And I think the second agenda item for next week should be naming the fund, and I will suggest or make a motion for saving Smashville. Now we're good.
I don't get to vote, but I'm going to say yes because if it doesn't count.
I think Representative Love has now been moved to panelist. So, he's, yeah, there.
Thank you and good afternoon. Certainly support the concerns that everyone's had about making the decision today and look forward to next meeting rather, and maybe just have this as our one agenda item so we can just get full clarity about what we're going to do with these unspent funds because, as you know, much of the public and council members will be thinking about, why we have unspent funds and what we're going to do with those.
Great. Representative Love, and I apologize in advance because I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have any updates from the state? Anything that would just provide some insight for this committee of additional needs? Anything you all have been hearing about? I think the nonprofits, somebody asked a question last meeting, are the nonprofits expending those funds that have been, so they were awarded, but I believe at the state level, they were reimbursement basis. So you won't really necessarily know how much has been incurred until they file for reimbursement. And I think that date was expended to December, but that's the nonprofits is just one component. Is there anything else with small business you all had created that, I don't want to say last minute, recently, the additional, I think, $50 million for small businesses to apply. So there's just a lot of great activity going on at the state level. Any updates for this group since we've got you?
Yes, we did meet yesterday, and I understand certainly the frustration that many on this call, I have them also. But we did meet yesterday, and I had, prior to yesterday's meeting, been in conversation with Tony Nickajack and with Butch Ely's office about the very slow moving wheels of reimbursement. I was getting emails from nonprofits who had been awarded grants through the $150 million process and had yet to receive any reimbursement. I was informed that they were in process of finally working everything out to start that reimbursement for the nonprofits and be rolling the money out either end of this week, which is today and tomorrow, or the beginning of next week. And the surge amount that you're talking about, the surge grant, that $50 million for businesses who maybe did not pay taxes in the previous year, but were able to get some work done. Also, businesses who had to spend money on PPE costs, this would allow them to get some reimbursement. That fund has been completely applied for. And so that $50 million and the $5 million that was set aside for specifically DBE businesses has been spoken for. And so the first tranche of those payments for nonprofits is going to be in production and going out this week. With reference to what we have from the state that has been paid out, just as an update, we have about 272 million that has not been obligated. And this comes from situations where we were expecting local governments to apply for more money than they did not apply for, situations where we had some other expenses that did not meet the level that we thought they were going to meet. So we are looking for possibly in a next round of allocations to allocate another $100 million for business relief and a possible $200 million for local government request. And I think 187 million is what they said for something else. But the unobligated funds would hopefully go towards some of those things.
Thank you for that. And again, I appreciate that on the spot. And I think great news on the small business. Even in our own funding, that's the fund that got depleted, within 2 weeks out there. The rent relief, you all can see, gosh, I looked at it. I think it's just under $4 million. So there is $6 million left. There's certainly, that's pretty real time. That's through last Friday. There will be a big push for this November and December. It's a tough time for families with holidays. So we expect to fully expend it, but that was a little bit along the conversation of saying, now is a good time to probably make sure, there's a lot of funds out there. So make sure that our rent relief gets fully depleted, make sure that all of our food support, the small businesses. But I'm really glad to hear about the potential. I'm not going to mark it in stone for the extra 100 million for small business.
Yeah, and that just depends on how much ends up being totally unobligated, because that 100 million may be knocked down depending on what is available. We'll say this though, at the very beginning of all this, the governor had available $60 million just for education related expenses. That was never put, it was a whole separate amount that he had available, separate from what the State Department of Education drew down or what our local school district drew down. And so we're in talks right now of using a good chunk of that to provide a grant program for individual parents to be able to get some learning loss recovery for their child. So Harold Love can get a possible grant for his 4 kids to go to after school program or get a tutor following the spring semester. Now, the only downside is these actual dollars won't be available until the summer, but there's also talk about using some of that for an actual free 6 weeks of summer school to catch our students up, K through 8, on what they have missed out in these fall and spring semesters coming up. So that's where a good chunk of that 60 million is going to go, toward providing free 6 weeks learning for them, which would be accompanied by meals provided and some transportation, but also allowing parents individually to hire or someone to tutor their child to also get some of the learning loss taken care of.
Yeah, that is really interesting and good. And as a reminder, for the committee or anybody listening from the public, we talk about putting all these pieces together in the different funds, and a lot of the education funds actually go beyond December 30th. So just for anybody questioning why that could happen in summer, that's fantastic. I also, back to that complicated puzzle pieces, appreciate the fact that since I'm trying to help Metro, kind of juggle all of the different funds on a statewide level, I realize and appreciate the challenges there too, for that team to, look at what's been expended, what they thought would be expended, what's not going to be expended. So thank you for that. And then I'm not going to rush anybody along. I just respect your time. You all have the reports that were sent. We had our 4 small business technical support groups, as well as United Way's charity tracker for all things rent, mortgage, and utility. I sent you, this was last minute. I gotta make sure I sent it. Was it, you have Metro's department by department spending with a little bit of a reconciliation. So it covers the things that were on the agenda, but so if there are specific questions, I'll be here. I know we're past time for all of you. You can send me any questions. For next week, it sounds like we really want to work on what does this resolution look like and what does the framework look like for our new to be named reserve, and then any other recommendations. So as we said, we weren't cutting off, per se, additional recommendations, especially the way it sounds like we're going to head. Did we want to take any time? Did anybody have questions on, I sent you one from Mr. Watson from the Comedy Club, so you can follow that information. And then one from the villages, I think it's Villages of Glen, I'm sorry. But you all have that. And I just wanted to touch on that because I did do a little research, and I reached out to, there are some other federal funds that are coming from HUD, and they are basically comprised of CDBG funds and ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Community Development Block Grant. And we have a great team that is working on some of the rapid rehousing for our homeless population. The shelters that Metro set up have been extremely important in curbing the spread of the virus, but it has also really, this group knew about the homeless issues, but I think for all of us to understand, it really shed some light on some of the other homeless issues. And so I thought some of that recommendation might fit over in those federal funds. And I did talk to that group on Tuesday of this week. And the way the HUD funds are processed, there is a public notice for what those funds will be used for, and then applications are received. And that request doesn't actually fit within those guidelines the way it was publicly noticed. So it's about a $400,000 request. We can talk about it, or you can send me any questions, whichever you prefer. But I know I had thought that maybe that could be incorporated over in a different pot of money, but it looks like if we think that need is high, we might be the only source of that funding at this point. It has to do with some transitional housing and hotel vouchers for those that are sick, a few other things. So wanted to point that out to you and just give you that context. See, I see one hand from Sean.
Yeah, I left it up inadvertently, but I did have a question in the end, so it worked out well. Just a fast question on the gentleman from the comedy club that I think was on our call inadvertently last week or 2 weeks ago. I know you had a prior email exchange with him, and then it looks like a phone call from him also. I'm not sure what, I might have missed one piece of correspondence. Has he asked for anything, or has he asked for the ability to ask a question? I'm very confused. Want to help, obviously. But.
Yeah, more the latter of what you just asked. So there's really not a written request for a dollar amount or a group like we had with the Music Venue Alliance, put some structure around a group. But his latest email that I forwarded to you all was really just a request to, I think, verbally present something to you all. And I shared with him that I would forward that email. I did also, again, encourage him in the meantime to apply to the Small Business Fund at Pathway Lending. We'll know this evening at council if that additional $1 million is approved. And I just encouraged that to happen in the meantime.
And then I apologize for my own lack of remembering this. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. Did we consider other small venues with a resolution, or did we postpone that?
No, we didn't. So the resolution that is at council this evening is really the transfer of $1 million from live music to small business. In
which case, those clubs could apply for it in that matter. That's what it was.
Correct. Yep. So any of the, independent theaters could apply in that small business category, including the one that Mr. Watson is affiliated with.
Thanks for that. I thought so.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. We certainly know our primary objective next week. And I hope that I did not rush anybody through any of the information from today. Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands. So I'm going to, I think that we are at our conclusion for today. We will formally adjourn and pick up the idea of some recommendations to go to council at our first meeting in December will be our agenda for next week. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for your time.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.